Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. It's game week 35, and the game week is almost done. We've got 8 minutes remaining of the only game that really matters left in this game week. There's later, we've got Forest and Southampton. But Dean, it's 4-1 Everton at the moment. Points for Matoma and McAllister owners, at least, but not for Solly March owners. He's played about 20 minutes and pulled his hammy. But Everton, Corey, smashing it.
What on earth is going on? I've just got back from Fulham and I was just like tracking this on the train on the way back, just thinking, what on earth is going on here? Like, what a shambles of a day in terms of results. Like, Fulham win at 5-3 against Leicester, and now Everton are smashing Brighton at Brighton. Like, really messes with us, this one, doesn't it? March, again, like, been preparing for weeks and weeks for those Brighton doubles. No, it's all out the window. He ain't going to be playing, is he? At least the next one. So we got a decision to make. So I don't know what this is going to mean in the long term, mate. But I think it's definitely caught a few of us out. And I think today, the results that we've seen or starting to see over this weekend, just it's further underlines what load of nonsense we're about to see in the last 2 or 3 sets of games. You might as well just pick like auto pick for these last weeks, because I don't think there's going to be much logic to it, mate. I really don't think there's going to be a lot of logic to it. I'll talk about Fulham a bit more in the notebook section, but Fulham v Leicester today. Fulham with basically nothing to play for. Leicester with everything to play for. Honestly, Leicester were absolute shambles. And you just never would have, if you just landed on planet Earth as an alien, you're watching your first game and they said, right, one of these teams has to win today. And the other team, basically, it doesn't matter if they win or lose. You would not have picked to be the way around that actually played out to be. Yeah, it's crazy. Let us know in the comments what you've made of this game week, and if you're just willing to ditch all your plans for these last few game weeks now, because I don't think there's much sense to any of it.
Good to see you loads in the chat. Rich, good evening to you and Gwen. Eddie's asking questions about Newcastle forwards. We'll get to them later. Damien's with us. Haley, good to see so many of our chasers. Guys, thank you for joining us. We're with you for the next hour. We're going to be showing you how we got on this game week. We've got our notebook section from Dean. We've got eye tests from me. We'll be answering your questions. But yeah, Dean's referred to it there. Like, crazy few weeks ahead. But let us know in the chat, what do you think to teams that don't have a huge amount to play for? Because I heard a feature on TalkSport the other day, and it was I think it was actually called On the Beach. It was like a 2-minute sort of pre-made package. But it's really interesting because they had players like Jermaine Pennant and Gabby Agbonhor, the usual suspects for TalkSport, talking about what it's like to be playing in a team with nothing to play for this time of year. And some of them said, you're counting down the days for your holiday, you don't put the level in. But others said, you can play without any pressure and a sense of freedom. So you can go out there and express yourself, and therefore you actually see increased performances and more goals. Darren Bent was one that I think said that. So it's really interesting. You watch Fulham today and, Dean, playing without pressure, right? Leicester, all the pressure on them didn't show up, but Fulham, bit of swagger.
Yeah, I got a bit, mate. It was very easy, so I can't say that it wasn't easy to have swagger, because it was. But it's funny. CH just said to me, "Did you enjoy today?" Honestly, it was one of the most enjoyable Fulham afternoons I've had in a long. It was so good. Like, when you get a game like that come along, and obviously, like I take my little boy now, and he's 5. My mate brought his little girl along today. And it was her first game. She's like 7. I'd like to see them getting into it too. Like, when it becomes a bit of procession at 3-0, and like, Fulham, when they're playing like that, it's so free and fluid, and it's just so good to watch your team when they're playing so comfortably. But I think it benefited Fulham, like you say, because there's no pressure there. Like, the only thing we're fighting for is to be kings of West London. I mean, there's that little mini table: Brentford, Fulham, Chelsea at the moment, 9th, 10th, 11th. And it's a proper scrap to see who's the kings of West London. QPR, nowhere to be seen these days. And look, Brentford are on top at the moment, which is a bit sad to say, but it was just great. As I say, I'm going to address this properly in the notebook section because there's a few things to address. But it does get me thinking about these fixtures that are coming up and games that look meaningless. Actually, I'm thinking, like, are these the ones to target? Are these the ones where, like, there's going to be these players scoring 2-3 goals out of nowhere? It could be the case. Like tonight's game, I wish I had some interest in it. I really wish I had interest, because I'm looking at it now, thinking I had all these guaranteed points from this week, and just hasn't worked out. So yeah, I might just go start. At this stage, I'm thinking just taking points hits, to be honest. Like, just see if I can have some fun in the last 2 or 3 weeks and have some nice point finishes.
Yeah, I think I might end up doing the same, mate. I'm already thinking of, like, how I can go a little bit different, and maybe a few injuries out there, like Solly March, who with a hamstring, like we've seen players pull hamstrings and be out for, I think, 2 weeks to 5 weeks. It could be anything.
Yeah.
Chilwell's the same. I think Chilwell maybe at 75 minutes came off. I think I read somewhere that was reported as a hamstring injury. I don't know if it is yet, and we'll wait for press conference news. But players like that, I'm like, just get rid of them. Like, if we don't think they're going to be playing in the next 7-10 days, then there's no point holding now. So you've got to go rogue. And with that, you can go, okay, maybe it's 4-point hits, but maybe it's a shuffle in formation. Or, if you're selling Solly March, but you don't want another Brighton mid, I don't want to go to, say, McAllister. I could be like, okay, am I going to somehow go to Evan Ferguson, who's back from injury and come on in the second half today and looking really good? I think he's just had another shot saved in the last few minutes. So, yeah, there's options there. There's options.
Yeah, there are options. Let us know in the comments too if you had any surprise players that really helped you out this week. I'm interested to see if anyone took some, like, left field punts to just try and catch people out or make up some way in your mini leagues, and if any big gambles really paid off, because I bet there are some there. I really think people have had some joy. It sounds like the king of hindsight, but, like, for example, this week I nearly brought in Tom Kearney because, like, Tom's definitely going to play in this game. If I'm going to make the moves I want, then, I wanted Trent to come in. I was going to have to get a cheaper midfielder. And I was looking at Tom Kearney. I was like, I think this is actually quite a good option. And I was like, I'll go Jacob Murphy because he's got 2 games next week. And I'm looking at it now, I'm thinking, that's a bit cowardly. Like, I knew that Tom would play. I knew that he was looking good at the moment, and he had that bit between his teeth to end the season on a high. And I really wish I'd have just pulled the trigger and gone for it, but didn't. And now it just sounds like I'm making this up. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't believe it. A few in the chat mentioning that someone like Ferguson, I think I saw a comment, won't play both or won't start both. He'll have his minutes managed, but it'll probably feature in both. Like, he might, Mark, I think you could very easily see him have 2 lots of 60. Like, why not? You could see him have a 90 and a 30. You take that. I bought in Callum Wilson this week. I know in the double, he's not going to play 180 minutes. But I'm cool with that. Like, when you buy some players, you just have to know they're not 90-minute men. Now, usually we only buy 90-minute men in FPL, but when the ceiling is as big as someone like a Ferguson or a Wilson can provide, then I think you can take that punt. But let's move on. I think the game's just about to finish, or perhaps even has just finished. So with that in mind, we'll expect a little wave of audience. Hello to all of you guys just joining us. We will move on, I think, now to the eye test report from me. We're going to start with some of Saturday's football. It seems like ages ago, like when I think of those early 3 p.m. games on the Saturday, which we went into, by the way, myself included, thinking there was a good chance someone like Haaland might suffer from some rest. We might see him benched, or we might see him come off at half time. I think, again, he got like 90 minutes. How he blanked in that football match, though, I don't quite know. Yeah. He did everything. But it wasn't his day. But we did see Jack Grealish benched. And again, I thought it'd be one of them. So I think we'll probably expect Grealish to come back in for the Everton fixture. But one guy that did start, and he got a couple of assists, and I don't think he starts against Real Madrid. Therefore, I think he's a good asset for the run-in, is Mahrez. And like, he's known as a bit of an FPL troll because so many times over the years, managers have been stung by buying Mahrez and then seeing him benched, or buying Mahrez and him not delivering the points, but delivering the points in the Champions League or the FA Cup or whatever. But when we look at the Premier League, like, he's had in his last 3 games, it's been an 82, a 90, a 90. Let's assume he's not going to start the Real Madrid games because he's going to play Bernardo Silva on the right. Again, that could change. You never know. But I'm going to punt that he doesn't. Everton away is a nice fixture. I know they've just beaten Brighton, but Brighton had loads of opportunities, and think what City will do to them. And then it's Chelsea, Brighton, Brentford to end the season. I just think Mahrez, especially the way Arsenal are playing now, Pep knows every game is so important and will go for goals and will go for, this is the next biggest game, guys. So I think Mahrez, definitely you could have eyes on for the running if you don't already have a De Bruyne or a Grealish. I'm not saying switch there, but just keep your eyes. If you're looking for a Man City midfielder, I think Mahrez probably offers a higher ceiling than someone like a Jack Grealish. Obviously, if funds can allow it, you go Kevin De Bruyne. And I think someone like a Foden is probably too risky. But Mahrez, I think, is a calculated risk, and he's only 5% owned. Proper differential.
Yeah, when I just asked that question a minute ago, who did you bring in? Tennisaurus, Mavshak, CH, all said they brought in Mahrez last minute. And it paid off, and it's exactly that. I mean, Mahrez was a great player. I mean, helped out by Firpo's performance and just allowing him to do whatever he wants and go wherever he wants to go. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Bright, have Everton really scored a 5th?
Yeah, it looks like it according to the chat.
5-1. This is absolute nonsense. But yeah, Rick says I switched before deadline when we got Grealish moves. That's always a Grealish news. Sorry, that's always a good sign. People, let me know if there's anything you spotted. I haven't seen any of this Brighton Everton game at the moment. Like, what has happened here? Like, have Everton been that good, or have Brighton been this bad? Like, I cannot believe what I'm seeing here. Like,
it's all been counter-attack, and it's just been Brighton committing too many numbers. Well, because they're chasing the game, and then that hit on the break, and McNeil, Doucouré, and Calvert-Lewin, and Iwobi. That Iwobi played wide right. But then that's the front 4 there. We're all so clinical. Like the Doucouré second goal, check it out later, Dean. Like, it's a volley. It's such a good hit.
Is it?
Such a good hit. And it's a great ball from McNeil, who's just been like a man possessed today. But the guy that's not had any FPL points today in that fixture, and again, I was going to mention him in the eye test report, I think he's had maybe 1 assist. I'm just checking now.
Yeah.
He's been brilliant today. And I think Everton, we know, look like a different team with him. So he's got 4 points. So he's had an assist. He won't get bonus points. And that is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. And yeah, he's expensive this year. It's 7.9 million for an Everton player, right? But he's had a 6-pointer and a 4-pointer. So 2 returns. He could have had big points today. The next 3 fixtures, off the back of this win, by the way, and seeing Leicester lose, I think Everton are massively favourites now to avoid that drop. And to beat the drop and stay up, although there's still a lot of football to be played. But they play Man City next week. We know that's tough, but Man City always seem to concede a goal in the Premier League. And when they do, if they do, Calvert-Lewin is the sort of guy that might cause Man City defenders problems. It's at Goodison as well. And then it's Wolves and Bournemouth. Like, from all the teams down there, Everton are the one with the best fixtures. Wolves and Bournemouth to end the season. Bournemouth and Wolves, probably their seasons are done. Calvert-Lewin in those games could be a punt. It could be a calculated risk. And again, like 0.3% owned. Now, sure, you need 8 million, 7.9 to get there. But Calvert-Lewin could be that sort of end of season punt where you go, Everton can score 3-4 goals this game. Yeah, we've just seen them score 5 against Brighton. So why can't they do it against Wolves or against Bournemouth? You could see it.
Yeah, it really is like that time of year. I mean, do you remember in the World Cup fantasy when there was just like those random, you could do auto pick and things and like that. And then like DCL is somebody you'd want to be picking at this stage where you can just make wholesale changes. I doubt many people have got their free hits and stuff left at this stage. But if I did have a free hit, I think I'd just go rogue at this point. Like you say, like pick someone like Calvert-Lewin. Because, you know, you've seen Watkins go out of form now. Kane will score a couple. Haaland hasn't been scoring as many, to be fair. And he's also got Champions League coming up. There's a lot of stuff to weigh in at the moment to the equation. And it's just really strange. But it's Everton, like someone just said in the chat. Like, I don't know what I'm getting week to week. Like, they've been so consistent. They've been mainly poor. They haven't scored anything like this all season. So are they likely to do it again? I mean, probably not. I mean, obviously, like Sean Dyche, whatever he said before, this one has paid off. But yeah, it's a crazy result. I think you're right. I think Everton, in terms of staying up now, looking a lot better. That's for sure. Still looking at it at the moment. So right now, Everton 16th on 32 points. Leicester, Leeds, and Nottingham Forest all on 30 points below them. So like this is a proper scrap. Leicester and Everton and Leeds actually have all played 35, and Forest obviously about to play Southampton. So I know like most of us aren't that interested in the game that's about to be played tonight, but it's a huge game. Like this is a massive match. And actually, it's the kind of match you probably should watch because you might just spot something in there. You might see something that gets you thinking, do you know what? I'm going to take a little punt on a player that, look, if you look at Nottingham Forest matches, on paper, typically at the start of the season, they're probably thinking, oh no, our last 3 games are Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, and Crystal Palace away. I don't actually think that that's that bad. I really don't think that that's that bad now. So, yeah, let's watch tonight. I'm actually going to try and get a Forest player in my team finally.
Oh, wow. That's bold.
All
That's
this week.
bold.
Yeah, I'm going to take like a -12 and get a Forest player in there.
Guys, awesome to see so many of you just joining, having watched the disappointing Brighton game for many of us. Although, look, fair play, McAllister owners, nice little win for you there. Matoma owners obviously got the assist. If you own Steele, you got an own goal. That's rubbish, isn't it? But look, if you own Steele, you just got a penalty save a couple of weeks back. So, I think you're all right there. You're still up. But yeah, fair play to McAllister owners because again, it's another goal. I'm just checking his points to see if he got any bonus. I'm just going to have a look right now.
Yeah.
Guys, we've still got 40 minutes left of the stream tonight. So make sure you do stay with us for the next 40 minutes. We'll be showing you our teams. We've got Dean's notebook in a sec. We'll be answering your questions as always. And yeah, the bonus points. McNeil, 76 BPS. That is as high as you'll see for an Everton player in probably years. Decore, 44. And then McAllister gets a bonus with 29, and Matoma 27, and Iwobi 25. So yeah, McAllister will get the one bonus. Nothing for Matoma there. And March obviously is going to be flagged for a few weeks because it looked like a hamstring, didn't it? So we're waiting for more there as well. So in terms of the final eye test report, let's play a little game in the chat. Let's see who guesses this guy first, right? So I think, okay, you're all going to get it, but I'm going to give you a couple of clues. So first up, he is a midfielder that's got fairly high ownership, but he's pretty much in no one's teams, despite the high ownership in terms of engaged managers. He's in loads of teams that are dead teams from the start of the season. He's had a 15-pointer and a 10-pointer. And for some reason, we all ditched Arsenal assets because they blanked, they had hard fixtures, and they didn't have the doubles. Yet this guy is a midfielder for Arsenal, and he's flying at the moment. And he's the leader in that team. He's the captain in that team. I'm guessing you've all got it by now. And Derek, congratulations. You're the first name to put him in. Odegaard. He is lower owned than Martinelli and Saka. Yet he's got more points than Martinelli and Saka over the season, which is crazy because they've all had such good years. But Odegaard, at the moment, is the pick. He's the talisman in this team. And seeing Arsenal play against Newcastle, I was really surprised. I thought Newcastle were going to do a job on them. And I think this shows Arsenal are made of harder, better stuff. Brighton next. Sure, that's going to be tough, but maybe this is the good time to play Brighton off the back of a big defeat. And then it's Forest and Wolves. They're still backing that Man City can slip up and they have to win every football match. They've also got a week off between every fixture now. They're not in Europe, so they play Sunday. Then they have a week to Saturday. Then they have another week to Sunday. There's a lot of love for me looking at Arsenal right now. And I genuinely think if we're looking to accommodate an Arsenal midfielder, I'd go Odegaard over Saka and Martinelli just because those last recent performances.
But this has been the problem all season. I've gone from Odegaard to Saka to Martinelli to Saka and Martinelli.
Yeah.
And they've gone in waves and then they've completely dropped off. Each of them have completely dropped off at stages. And Odegaard, we thought he'd gone and now he's come back just as Saka and Martinelli have basically disappeared. So like, I'd be scared of getting on Odegaard because thinking that it'll be Saka or Martinelli that actually ends in a bang and Odegaard's just had his wave. Like that that is what scares me in this Arsenal team. Like they share everything around those three. But yeah, I mean, Aston Villa, Bozzy says no one's talking about it, but Arsenal still win it. I mean, look, it's a good win. Go to Newcastle and doing that is a good win. And fair play to Arsenal for maintaining this pressure and making sure that this title challenge isn't completely over. But yeah, it just scares me now jumping onto Odegaard because I did it before. And it was the time we were saying, is Odegaard the best player in this division and all this kind of stuff? Why haven't we got him in our team? He's basically the De Bruyne of this season. And I think from pretty much the moment we started having that conversation, he fell off a cliff and was getting 2-pointers and 3-pointers for 4 weeks. Now he's back.
He is, yeah. And to be fair, Odegaard's a great option. He's exactly the same price as Martinelli, who also I thought looked really good against Newcastle. He got an assist, but they look more dangerous than Saka at the moment. And also, Saka's a lot more expensive. Sure, you get the penalty appeal. We know that. But I'd be looking at those two before Saka at the moment. But yeah, 3 massive football matches for Arsenal. And I just think there's reason now to buy again for the run-in. So yeah, that are the 3 names we're going to focus on this week. So that is our eye test report. We'll do the same again next Monday. For those of you that are new around here, we do these streams on Mondays and Fridays. It's always a review of the weekend just gone on Monday and more of a preview on the Friday. But as always, we're always looking ahead and we'll be showing you how we've got on and what we're looking to do moving forward later in today's show. But next up, Dean has got his notebook and I expect a Fulham mention or 2, having just seen 8 goals at the Cottage this afternoon.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Fulham Leicester heavy, this one. In case you are just joining us, I was at the Fulham Leicester game today and got back just before we started recording this. So it's all very fresh in my mind about what I've just seen and what I've noticed and things we should probably be aware of. I'll try and quickly put an order of play here in my head as to what I want to talk about because there's quite a lot. I'm actually going to start with Fulham. I'm going to start in goal because Bernd Leno was absolutely brilliant for Fulham today. He conceded 3 goals. I'll be interested to know if it says how many saves he made.
I think I looked earlier. I think it was 5.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Obviously made a penalty save as well from Vardy.
6.
Yeah, he was superb. I literally turned around. My best friend comes with me and he's very good at FPL. We were talking about halfway through the game about Leno was like an FPL asset and being like, this is a guy that we actually need to take seriously. Like he's so good. I'll be surprised actually if people don't come knocking on the door at Fulham this summer asking what his valuation would be. He's been that good.
Really, yeah.
It really has. So yeah, keep an eye, everyone. I know not everyone probably watches much of Fulham. Like one of those teams that just passes you by and you see little bits and pieces. But look out for Bernd Leno. I'm now going to address Leicester and I'm going to say that James Maddison had a nightmare.
Again.
Mate, he fell over so many. I don't know if he had the wrong studs on or something.
Was he in moulds? Because it was raining, wasn't it?
It was raining and we'd watered the pitch quite heavily, it looked like. And there's at least 3 occasions where he slipped over in the first half at key moments. He got so riled up in the second half when things weren't going his way. He lashed out a couple of times, once really badly, and everybody's singing he's going to cry in a minute, and it made him even more annoyed. Did score a nice pen, hit a nice free kick. But I tell you what, James Maddison just looked like a very frustrated character today as someone that was very annoyed about the flow of that Leicester team. They cannot defend. Like Dean Smith talking ahead of this game about, if we can just, all we need to do is shut up shop and we'll be all right. We'll stay in this league. There is absolutely no sign that Leicester are capable of shutting up shop. Like they are an absolute shambles at the back. Carlos Vinicius, he played quite well today, but it's the first time I've actually seen him look Brazilian since he joined. Like that's how.
Well, that goal against City was amazing.
It was good. It was good, to be fair. He has been a bit better the last 2 games. And actually, that probably leads me to another talking point, which is Mitro's back next week. Mitro's back, came back now for Fulham. So Carlos Vinicius, he started scoring goals, but I don't think he'll be keeping his spot in the Fulham team, because I tell you what, if Micho was playing today, this scoreline would have been even more heavy. So just beware that Mitrovic is coming back very soon for Fulham, and he'll have a bit between his teeth. So yeah, that's definitely something to look out for. What was the other thing I noticed today? There was something else. Oh, the Leicester goalkeeper's problem. Why didn't Leicester sign a goalkeeper?
I mean, Iverson's meant to be a good keeper, but I mean, he's not been in the team a huge amount of time. But then they did go and spend 12 million on Ward only like 18 months ago, whenever it was. Like, he's rubbish.
This thing of sharing the time between these two has basically sent them into this relegation battle. I mean, this has been a terrible decision. I saw there was a report in the Telegraph that I was reading about this game on the train home. They were like, Leicester deciding that they were going to do that when Bernd Leno was actually available for transfer at the time for barely any money. They should have been doing exactly what Fulham did, because Leicester wouldn't be in this mess if they'd had a goalkeeper of that level.
Yeah,
like
Ward cost them so many points at the start of the season.
So many points at the start of the season. I know we all had both Leicester goalkeepers at the start of the season, but Kasper Schmeichel really was a valuable asset in that team. The Leicester fans really turned on this team during the game. They were booing their own players. Tielemans was booed. I think it was Ndidi, I think, that came on for him. He was booed. Absolute shambles. Leicester look to me like they will go down. I know they've scored 3 goals today, but Fulham had this game tied up at 3-0, and like they were just treating it like a charity game, to be honest. So that is what I would just take. My hot takes from being at Fulham v Leicester today. Aston Villa Bozzy. I mean, when do Fulham score 5? Well, last season, mate, we did it loads in the Championship and actually quite regularly scoring 7. So be careful what you're saying to us there. He does say, though, that Leno has been superb all season, and he really has. And I think that's the point. Like, next season, I really am going to be looking at Leno as a potential option. I mean, to be honest, our last games are Southampton, Crystal Palace, and Man United.
It's just a goalkeeper transfer with 3 weeks to go. Feels
exactly.
So dead,
like it's not something you really want to be doing. But if you want a new goalkeeper, absolutely.
He's the 8th best. He's joint 7th this season with Martinez. And you look at Emi Martinez and all the clean sheets Villa have been keeping under Emery of late, and you go, he's had a really good season. Leno's on level there, and he's only 4.6 million. So he's the cheapest of. Yeah, he's the cheap. No keeper that's more expensive than Leno has more points than him this season.
Yeah, I mean, that says everything I was trying to say there perfectly. Now, Gabriel says, shall we target players playing against Leicester? Leicester's last 3 games.
Liverpool up next.
Liverpool, Newcastle, West Ham. Yes. Absolutely yes. Honestly, they were bad. They were really bad. Like, yeah, they had opportunities to score, but every time you went at them, they were vulnerable. Like, they were going to be scored on. So look at those fixtures and just see. I mean, obviously, like, people have been weighing up recently on getting more Liverpool and Newcastle assets into their teams. Go ahead with those plans. If that's what your plan was, then absolutely prey on the fact that Leicester could be heading towards the Championship at this moment in time.
Yeah, so the Monday night game against Liverpool, we usually stream on a Monday night, so we'll think about that, the time of that stream, guys. So make sure when you subscribe, you hit the alarm bell so you get notifications, because there's a good chance we'll probably do it a couple of hours before the game.
Yeah,
so we don't want to clash, because we know everyone will be watching that Monday night football, and there'll be a few, even though it's a double game week next week, that captain Mo Salah, because it's Leicester. And again, there'll be loads that captain Haaland in a single game week against Everton, despite the Real Madrid fixtures, because it's 8 days between the two. I think we're fine for Haaland minutes. But again, there'll be others that go single game weekers. I don't fancy Brighton assets over a double for captaincy. I don't know if I want to go and captain a Trippier or a Wilson or an Isak. Many will go to Isak, I think. But Liverpool against Leicester, the way Salah's playing at the moment, he's looked good in recent weeks. Or Haaland against Everton, the single game weekers, Dean. Do you think you'll give him love for captaincy, or will you go 2 bites at the cherry for Trippier, 2 bites at the cherry for Matoma? We get sucked in by the doubles.
I think I will stick to it, mate. I mean, it hasn't really served me very well. I had a massive fall off, but if I turn my back on the strategy now and it actually comes in, then I'll be kicking myself, So. I'm in a situation whereby, okay, the season's fizzling out, but I'd rather that than make another wrong decision and be kicking myself for more missed points. So I'll probably play it safe on that front. I've already got a decision to make over like March and stuff. So yeah, I need to keep some doubles.
Yeah. Fair play for all those that went Salah this week, by the way. Like every week, especially towards the end of the season, we'll see people betting against Haaland because they've got to do something different. And I saw a fair few, even sort of FPL Twitter accounts going against Haaland going on Salah this week. Not many, a few.
Yeah.
And those that did absolutely paid off. I think Salah got a 10 points, 20 captain points. Really good when Haaland's getting 4 captain points.
I need to. My phone's not actually loading properly here. I was just going to have a look. Where is Salah in terms of the rankings? I mean, what is his?
I think this season he's the second or third highest point scorer in the game. It's Kane and Salah are second and third.
Is it? Yeah. So I was wondering what the points drop off was from like where Haaland might be, but
it's still an unbelievable season for Salah and Kane and Kane's. Kane's goal scoring has been amazing, but the narrative every weekend is just City and Haaland, so we lose it, don't we?
We really do. Like, definitely slept on Salah this season. I've barely had him. And if there's been anyone that's like been consistently just backing him through those like hard times, the returns have been good eventually, haven't they? They have come. I'm not saying that this has been like a vintage season for him or anything like that, but you know, in terms of the goal return and stuff and the goal involvement, he's still been right up there.
Yeah, he really has. In a season where Liverpool have, they've lost a lot of games, they've struggled at times. Wow, Zenik, who has had a totty. Zenik's got a little tick by his name in the chat, and I'm not sure why. Does that mean, Zenik, you're like a YouTube member or something? I don't know if we even have. I don't think we have that option of being a YouTube member yet, but you've got a little tick, which makes me think you're something important. So whatever you've done, thanks,
tell us
Zenik.
why you're so special, Zenik. We need to know. Jono, we haven't. Yeah, sorry, Jono, we haven't shown our teams yet. No, mate, we haven't. But having Totti on the bench, I mean, nobody saw that coming, did they?
Yeah.
Barely heard of him before that game. So
I think he's the cheapest. I have a feeling Totti's only on your bench because he's the cheapest defender in the game. Maybe I think he's like a 3.8 million defender. So you picked Totti with the ambition of never playing him, mate. You wanted a dead spot. I think, right? I might be wrong here. It's a bit like me going, Greenwood got a 14-pointer. Well, if he did, I wouldn't be annoyed because I bought Greenwood for one reason and one reason only, to not give me benching headaches as my
bench fodder.
Bench fodder indeed. There we go. I do Rocket League content. Love a bit of FPL as well. Okay.
Rocket League. Cool. My kid's into that.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a game, yeah. It's like this caged game, and like there's this huge ball that you drive into, in like a car, and like it's quite a cool game actually. It's my 5-year-old is very much into Rocket League, but he's obviously not very good at it. But it does look like a cool game.
Awesome stuff, guys. Make sure you are hitting that like button and subscribing as well. Henry Saville loves Rocket League too. I was actually with Henry Saville. It's actually Henry's dad, Sav, last night. And it'll be Sav that's watching this now under Henry's account. And yeah, it's funny because you've said your 5-year-old plays, but Sav is about 60, and he clearly likes the game as well. So it's quite a diverse pool by the sounds of it.
Absolutely,
guys. Make sure, as I said, you're liking and you're subscribing. Thank you for the engagement in the chat. Awesome to see. We read every comment. It doesn't always make it on screen. It doesn't always make it out loud, but we are reading absolutely everyone as always. And guys, if you're watching on catch up, we also read every comment you drop below as well. So do feel free to drop a comment anytime with any feedback. Always welcome. Let's move on and have a look at our points so far this game week. We can. I'm actually going to give you a. Sorry, Sav. I know you're not 60, but you're not far off. You're not far off. He's actually a England vet. He's been capped by, I think, England vets or England over whatever goalkeeper. So he has got a cap for England over his age group, which I think, 40s or vets is over 35.
That is actually really impressive. I've seen that. Yeah, that's a good level. Very good level.
So I was playing, we played a game yesterday and he was the goalkeeper behind me. And he's always a very safe pair of hands. And despite being nearly 60, nowhere near actually.
A young 52, he says.
He gets down well.
52.
So let's have a look at our teams. Let's see how we got on. And as we do it, I'm going to go on live FPL and shout out my live rank. I don't know this week if I'm on a green or a red arrow. It's going to be close. So we'll update you in a couple of minutes. But first up, we'll show Dean's team in Pimp My Team.
Here they are, Losers United, as we are now being called. This is actually the first time I'm looking back on my team because I have not dared to open this app since the game week.
I can tell you what March got, mate. 1 point.
I'm just looking at it now. Estupiñán 0, March 1, Mitoma 5. Brilliant. That's great. So I've got a total of 36 points. That is shocking. Like my highest performer, apart from Trent and Kane, is Gabriel, who was on the bench. I didn't think he was playing.
Yeah, that's and you would never have backed Arsenal for a clean sheet because
wouldn't have backed Arsenal for a clean sheet.
With a score.
Yeah, so like I still might have made that same decision. Like if I'd have known Gabriel was fit, I still would have had a decision to make there. But I literally stuck him as like the last sub because I was like, well, it really doesn't sound like he's going to make this. That was the hunch I took. Got it completely wrong, obviously. Sorry, just going to interrupt here. Linford, hey gents, first time here, and yes, I've subscribed. Quick question: planning my free hit this week and got 2 free transfers. Will those 2 free transfers still be there in game week 37? Yeah.
Yeah, quickly I'm playing my free hit this week and got 2. No, it won't be.
What
Hang on. No, you lose them.
What if you use a free hit?
Which is a rubbish rule.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, well, it's rare, isn't it? It's rare we ever have 2.
Yeah, maybe I've never even got to that situation. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so going into a free hit, guys, always make sure you use your transfer because the other side of your free hit, you only have the 1 free move.
Oh, I've never even.
Sorry, Linford, that's rubbish news. But yeah, look, by subscribing, you got your question on screen, and that's what we do around here. All new subscribers get their first question answered, guaranteed.
Yeah, and actually, that was a great question, which definitely caught me out.
No, it catches people, mate. Loads of very engaged managers get caught out with that every season. So yeah, it's for all of you. Make sure you remember that for next year.
Stupid. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't really want to look back on this team, to be honest with you.
You had 2 players return, Trent and Kane. I saw a lot of teams this weekend with only 1 player return. And when I look at the average, let's have a look. So what's the average this week?
32.
I bet 32. So yeah, okay.
32. So how can an average point score be 32?
It's such a low game week. When you look at the point scorers, like Ben Rama or I don't know, McNeil got 84
now,
points.
Yeah.
Like
uncanny, whatever. Yeah, like it's nonsense. But yeah, obviously, like Solly March picking up this knock today. I had him in the team for next week. The double against Arsenal and Newcastle. So going to have to have another look at that. Like, I had bought Murphy in as one of my transfers for this week. He's got a double, so I guess he can go in there. Gabriel come back into the side, but yeah, I was going to bring in like Isak or Wilson really as that other transfer I'm going to have for the Leeds and Brighton games. I'll probably still do that, I think.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I think that, given where it's at, I mean, they did actually play together, didn't they?
I can't believe it. They actually started together, and it was. It could have been such a different game. If that's a penalty in the first 10 minutes and they score it and they're 1-0 up, you just don't know what happens in that football match. And then everyone goes, playing them both worked just off a potential VAR penalty. But now people will look at it and go, that experiment was failed because they didn't score a goal and Arsenal won. Fine margins in football.
And so now what are you thinking? Like, if
will he do it again?
Would you do it again? And who do you trust to pick? Is your hunch still that Isak would probably start ahead of Wilson?
Isak will get more minutes in the double.
He's going to get more minutes. Yeah, exactly, across the double. So, like, even though I would say, like, well, Wilson's a bigger goal threat, I'm going to have to weigh that up against minutes on the pitch and like what Isak might actually be presented in that time. So that's going to basically be my biggest call, I think, coming up. Big tips. Decore was on my watch list. Yeah, of course he was.
Along with about 100 or 200 names on there.
How long was the list?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's move on. We'll see what Dean's doing on Friday's show. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we got 2 free transfers, so you're well set. And many of you, and myself included, and maybe Dean, might even have to go boring with Solly March out, and you go, I need another Brighton player. I'm just going to buy McAllister.
Exactly.
And actually, I know he scored today, and it was a very lucky goal. But before that, Pickford had a worldie save from a McAllister header. He had another big chance which he missed. I think he laid it on a plate for someone else that maybe hit the bar. it was like McAllister was dodging points today. He could have had a big score, and he's on pens. I'll probably go boring and go March to me. I think McAllister is going to have a huge amount of buyers in this week. Put it that way.
Yeah, I don't think there's any dangers attached to it, is there? Just trying to think if there's any reasons to try and avoid it or go
what
elsewhere.
If he is going to Liverpool, Dean? You'll know more about this because will De Zerbi go? He's definitely off in the summer, and come game week 37 or maybe 38, maybe it's just the last game. We go, I'm going to play players that are here next year because we're not going to get top 4. We're not going to get whatever. I'm just going to bench him. Or do you think he's just going to?
He still wants to end the season well. Like McAllister, like is such a nice guy, and like he's not rocking the dressing room or anything like that. It's not like he's pushing for a transfer. Like things will happen themselves for him. Brighton, obviously, like there's been news stories over the last 24 hours about the fact that there's no contact here. You know, Brighton not expecting anything right now. Look, they said pretty much the same thing about Cucurella, and like 24, 48 hours later, he was gone. No, there's no actual direct contact at this moment between the clubs, but you know, Liverpool do like McAllister. There's intermediaries that are aware of all this, and stuff is going on ahead of June, obviously. Like we're getting close to the time when the transfer window opens, so these things start to open up, and Liverpool need to gauge whether he's going to be gettable and at what price. Brighton will be Brighton. They'll hold out for as much money as they can possibly get for McAllister, for Caicedo, like, and at least one of Brighton's big assets will go. The signs and the messages coming out of the club are that it probably will be McAllister. I think though that he will stay in this team for the rest of the season.
I hope so, and I think it's a gamble worth taking for that double game week and the penalty appeal, and the fact he's playing really well. There we go. Guys, we'll move on to my team now. Hackpo was unlucky for you, Dean. He had one. Jota put him in. He somehow missed his biggest of chances. It was
I couldn't believe it. I was watching the highlights and I was like, oh my days.
Yeah. And I really didn't want that goal because I just sold Jota. And we were convinced, weren't we? Jota was not going to start that football match. Klopp had said he you just can't believe some managers. Like, there you go. Like, I read so much into press conferences and you hang on every word of a manager and they can just completely BS you for 20 minutes. And what he said about Jota.
This has bugged me for years as a journalist, that clubs like to knock down stories that are in the media, that they'll get people to they'll brief other people to knock down other people's stories.
Yeah.
And yet, like, football clubs seem to lie more than anybody else. Like, they don't want the truth coming about their teams, whether it's lineups, whether it's transfers, whether it's contract news, whether it's a bust up, whatever it is. Their job is to protect their team, to protect the secrets that they have about a match day or a business decision, whatever it might be. And so we just can't trust them. Sometimes you get some managers who are very honest and like, if a player's not ready, a player's not ready. But that was a prime example, you're right, of like just not listening. Like, you spent ages listening to that press conference. It was a waste of time.
Yeah. I'd like to say I'll remember that and not do it again. And I'll be there on Friday. 31 points on screen. I have now got my Matoma points and my 1 March point. So, yeah, I'm on the mighty 37. I have got a tiny green arrow, though. I think I'm up 3 or 4K onto 171K. So I'll take that 0.97%
Definitely,
change.
Yeah.
Wilson started, so I was happy about that. And I am actually happy that I've got my Newcastle forward set now. I would have probably taken the gamble this week of going Wilson over Isak anyway, despite thinking Isak will get more minutes. I probably would have gone Wilson and just gone, we've got 3 game weeks left of the season. I fancy Wilson to start one of the two and probably get 30 minutes in the one he doesn't start. And let's say he gets 100 minutes or 120 minutes in the double game week, I think he potentially scores more than Isak scores over 180. And I don't even know if Isak gets 180. So, so that's where I am there. In terms of how I'm setting up, it's going to be a benching dilemma this week. There's a few that are benching Trent this week, which seems crazy to have to bench Trent Alexander-Arnold against Leicester. But you've got your Brighton and your Newcastle assets in, and you don't want to bench your Rashfords and your Salahs and your Haalands. It's tricky. So maybe the March injury might just be for some. I can actually bench him. I don't need to necessarily say him, because if you think March is going to be back for, say, his next double, and we need to wait for press conferences here. And De Zerbi is a manager that's pretty straight up when he's asked questions. How long Solly looking like he's going to be out for? He'll probably give you a fairly good answer on that. Maybe not today, but by next week he'll know a lot more. They obviously double again in game week 37, so you might just keep Solly and bench him. That is also an option.
It is an option. Kumi says, just subscribed. Thank you, mate. We really appreciate it. He says, don't have enough funds for March to McAllister. Yeah, fair point. Not everyone's going to. Should I sell Trent as well? I have two free transfers. Don't do that. Absolutely don't do that.
Trent's been smashing it of late, but also he's been dodging points. So he got a 7 and a 7 in his last 2 games. In those 2 games, he could have had 15 pointers. Yeah. And again at the weekend, like he's shooting now.
He's shooting.
Scoring.
Yeah,
in his next 3 games, he's going to score a goal.
He is. Like he's actually, I'm thinking like, is he just going to become a midfielder? Never mind like a fake right back. Is he just going to be a midfielder? Might save Liverpool loads of money by just morphing into like the greatest midfielder, the new David Beckham or something. I don't know. Like he's the way he's playing.
Right back.
He's not a right back. He's not a right back.
He's a slightly deeper version of Kevin De Bruyne at the moment. That's honoured. Like he's so good.
Like, been years wasted at right back. What have we been doing?
Because it was always like, oh, we loved his crossing, but when you see some of his open play diagonals and some of his through balls, he's way more dangerous from a central position because he, like most players, you go, oh, they're actually more dangerous out wide with his sort of cross, but because Trent has an eye for a pass like no other player in the league other than KDB, he's so dangerous in those central positions. And he's finding himself on the edge of the box with opportunities to shoot. And Trent has never been a goal threat. Only goals you ever saw from Trent really were free kicks. But now he's got open play goal threat too. Great pick.
Yeah, honestly, like when the next England squad comes around, Trent is suddenly back in the picture.
Yeah, him and Declan Rice in the midfield too. Dreaming.
Yeah, Southgate's be like, oh, I've got like a new player to pick from here. Like, get him in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So dire week for me, like you, Dean. I had 2 players return. Fortunately, Salah edged Kane ever so slightly, but there we go.
I mean, it was no disaster, like you say. Like it's obviously a bad week for nearly everyone. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, I was meant to get Rashford in and didn't. I've got away with it really because Rashford hasn't delivered big points in the weeks that I've been missing. Haaland, it doesn't matter if Haaland got 45 points or 4 points, really, does it? Because we're all going to get them or we're all not going to get them. So that's really the difference between us all getting 60 points here and being in the 30s or 40s is the fact that Haaland's only got 4 points this week instead of like a 20-odd.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm just looking ahead to my benching dilemma. And let's say I replace March with McAllister. I will have to bench either Grealish away at Everton. If I'm looking at single game week players only, Salah away to Leicester, not doing that. Rashford at home to Wolves, not doing that. Haaland away to Everton, not doing that. So I'm either going to have to bench Trent away to Leicester or Grealish away to Everton. I will probably bench Grealish before I bench Trent. Yeah. That's how good Trent is at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's a big call, but I think that would be the right one. Yeah.
And Chilwell, by the way, is flagged. Again, that looked like a hamstring. So I'm expecting both Chilwell and March to be out anywhere between 10 days and the rest of the season. So again, those 2 injury updates on Friday press conferences will be key.
Yeah, definitely that.
There we go. It was good to see a couple of new subscribers come straight in with a question. We're able to answer it. So that's good.
It was. Definitely. Even if they're lying, they've done a good job to get on the
show. Jono says he's rolling to make it makes him have to play a 5-4-1. Now that feels like a very ugly formation, but it's often not. When you look at some of the defender points, that's fine. Like you've probably got 3 defenders that are Brighton and Newcastle assets in that 5. They're all on double game week. So you just take the punt. What about Mahrez or Trent? Who just starts as tech? It's probably similar to what I said about Grealish or Trent. Mahrez possibly has slightly higher upside than Grealish, though. I still think I'd probably start Trent.
Yeah, I mean, look, Man City go Madrid tomorrow, so we need to see what sort of selection
we do.
He goes there, and then obviously the outcome of that is going to then impact the team that he puts out for the Everton game, with bearing in mind that 3 days later he's got Real Madrid at home, which is the game that ultimately is going to decide whether they get into the Champions League final. So, we know that he's going to go to Madrid just looking to remain in that game. But it's a big call, like that front line, Grealish and Mahrez, and the conundrum of whether they go with explosive players or, you know, players that help control the game and things like that. All these different decisions that Pep tends to make in terms of how he wants his game plan to go. Is difficult. I'll tell you what was funny as well. I was talking about the fact that, and this was a clear thing that Pep had told people that, you know, regularly at Man City, that the De Bruyne, Alvarez, Haaland trio isn't really going to be something he wants to do. Don't expect him to be starting with that. Lo and behold, there it was.
Of course,
There
of
it was.
course. Aston Villa Bozzy said Grealish 100% plays both Real Madrid games. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, and I also think he probably plays the Everton game. He's had his rest. He can play 3 games in 8 days. Not a problem at all. The big question for Real Madrid, and it's why Dean says about the Mahrez question, we just have to wait, is does Pep resort to type, which we've seen in the Champions League in important games this season where he's gone, Bernardo Silva plays on the right, Mahrez misses out. But the rest of that 11, we can probably name it for Madrid. Although with Pep, there's always a curveball, so who knows? Tony says he might go Gundogan just for his pens. Love that.
Definitely last week's takes for Man City. Yeah. It wasn't even that
do
bad,
that
to be fair. It wasn't that bad. It's just he's got Haaland on the pitch. You don't do it. He tried to be nice, didn't he, Haaland?
Siman says, who will you captain, Haaland or Isak? Who will be? Yeah, I don't own Isak. I'm not going to be captaining. I don't know. I was going to say I'm not going to be captaining Wilson, but maybe I do. Because I still think Wilson gets more than 90 minutes, right, over the 2 games. There will be some that fancy Trippier. I can't see myself captaining a defender. If I was to go for a single game week asset, though, obviously it's Haaland against Everton. And again, maybe the Real Madrid game matters. That first leg, you never know. City win 3-0, you're more likely to go, and Haaland scores a hat-trick and he's hot and you're like, I'm just going to go again. I'm just going to go captain Haaland. It's a single game week against Everton. He could get 60 minutes, but he could still get me a hat-trick. So
yeah, I mean, the only thing that scares me about ignoring Haaland there is that Everton's last 2 home games, they conceded 4 to Newcastle and 3 to Fulham, and that's still in their DNA. That is still in their DNA to be, just because they've had a big win at Brighton today.
Who had loads of chances still.
Did they? Did they really? Yeah. See, this is an Everton team that have been a defensive shambles for the majority of this season, and seeing a lot of their home performances, the way that they can be vulnerable to conceding chances. I mean, I think didn't Brighton beat them 4-1 at Everton earlier in the season? Pretty sure they did. So, yeah, it's going to take a lot for me to be, unless like there's clear signs that Haaland's not starting that game. It's still going to be a big punt to do that.
One guy we know will start, and he will get 90. Is, as Cavish has said, and I mentioned it earlier, Salah captain against Leicester is a legit option, isn't it? Like you've seen Leicester today, that you don't have to worry about him coming off early. He's going to get 90 minutes. By the way, that Brighton game today, I've just put in the chat, the XG on it. Like Everton had lower XG than Brighton. So, yeah, Everton defence still conceded a ton of chances.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, like for those that joined late, I was at Fulham Leicester today. Fulham scored 5. Honestly, it could have been 6, 7. It was a mad game. It was literally like a typical end of season game when no one has anything to play for. But the problem is Leicester have everything to play for, and defensively, just all over the place. Their midfield almost non-existent too. Fulham absolutely bossed them. So Tielemans had a mare. I think all 3 central midfielders were taken off. Pratt, Samare, Tielemans, all taken off.
Pratt started, did he? Dennis Pratt never starts. Wow. Okay.
Started. Came off at half time. Jamie Vardy wasn't very good, to be honest, either, by the way. There really, really wasn't a lot here. And if you've been thinking, I might go Salah, or I'm going to go 3 Liverpool assets, honestly, everything I saw today points towards the fact that you should definitely still go ahead with it.
Yeah, I just looked if I could sell Solly March for a straight swap to get Hakpo in. Because I'm like, let's tight, and I'm like 0.3, 0.4 short. I've got 2.2 in the bank. It's not quite enough, but that would have given me a real dilemma to go.
Yeah,
just get that 3rd Liverpool asset ASAP, and Hakpo's going to start, and he's due. So
absolutely.
We got time for a couple more questions, guys. Good to see. There's new faces tonight, which is awesome. Love that. Thank you guys for watching, and do make sure if you're new around here, you consider subscribing because we do these streams Mondays and Fridays. Chasing Green Arrows is all about live streams, and we engage the chat. Hopefully, those regular, we call them chasers, will appreciate the fact that it's often about you guys, and we're reactive to the comments. Also, the comments for those that watch on catch up, like that, are also really important to us. I know many that watch on catch up also occasionally grab us on a live stream as well. Whackham just said Everton 6 shots on goal, 5 goals.
Yeah,
amazing.
Absolutely. What did I just see that I was going to bring up? Hold on 1 second. Someone, this one will throw people. I gambled on Alves Moray, getting me 9 points. So that's Carlos Vinicius, by the way. Like that's who that is.
Vinny Junior.
Yeah. Vinny Senior. Vinny Senior, as we call him. He has come to life. Shall I stick with him or sell him as Mitro is back, mate? I mean, I'll be amazed if Mitrovic isn't straight back in that team. He's not injured. Yeah. He's been training all the time.
He'll be fresh as well.
He's totally fine. He needed a break because he's been
finally
injured.
Not injured.
He's probably finally the fittest he's been all season.
Yeah.
We're playing against, I think it's Southampton next. Like the worst team. I think it's Southampton next. I mean double check it.
Southampton, then Palace.
Southampton and Palace. Southampton away. Palace, our last home game of the season. And Mitro's going at Old Trafford on the last day of the season, the place where it all happened. He's looking for revenge. Get Mitro in.
I like that. Honestly, if you can stretch to Mitro, Dean, I think you should go Mitro. I think you should sell Watkins to Mitro.
Should I do it? I'm going to go for it.
Because you've avoided him for so long this season.
I've avoided him for so long.
Is Jota still an option, says Matthew? Yeah, he's an option. Personally, I think Luis Diaz... I've researched Liverpool a ton in recent weeks. I've tried reading between every line possible. Yeah. I think Luis Diaz is Klopp's boy on that left-hand side. And at the moment, Hakpo's the 9 and Salah's on the right. So actually, when all are fit, the only reason Luis Diaz didn't play at the weekend, didn't start, was it would have been 3 starts in 6 games. That was never going to happen. I called it. I said, Luis Diaz won't start. And he didn't, despite most of predictors putting him in their 11, including all the Anfield Express and all those guys, Liverpool Echo. Luis Diaz is a favourite of Klopp's. He'll be back in, I think. So I don't know if Jota's minutes are too risky.
Yeah, that is a good point. Toby does say, what's the best Man City asset? I'll take it outside of Haaland. Who would you go for if you had one other City asset?
I think De Bruyne will have a big end to the season because he does that. He did it last year. It's the business end of the season. He'll want all the trophies, and we've seen it in recent weeks. He's stepped up his performances.
He has, you're right. He has, I've slept on him a little bit, but you're right. De Bruyne, we should not be ignoring at the stage when things really matter, and Pep will be, hoping that combination between De Bruyne and Haaland, which is basically the best in European football, comes through.
Exactly. And when we see him, De Bruyne in that more advanced role, it's like a strike force. The partnership between De Bruyne and Haaland is just scary. Guys, that's all we got time for tonight. If you've just joined, go back and watch the last hour. I guarantee you will not regret that. But make sure you're back on Friday. I don't know what time we're going to be live yet, but it's likely to be. Is there a Friday night game this week? I don't think there is, actually. No, there isn't, is there?
No.
So it's probably going to be Friday at 7. And then, of course, we'll be back next Monday as well, guys. So for now, we're going to say goodbye. Goodbye to all of you chasers in the chat. Thank you for all your engagement tonight. But for now, he's been Dean, I've been Gianni, and we've been chasing green arrows.